All right, guys. Hopefully, we had a little delay starting out here, but hopefully everybody's good here. Welcome, guys. This is our Monday night team Zoom. Every Monday night, we are here to provide you guys education and give you some hopefully helpful things and tips that you can share with other people. That's the reason that we do these Zooms. So, I hope that you guys always find these helpful and learn something new every week. So, hey, Chris, and as we kind of are getting into our topic, I just wanted to start out tonight a little bit differently, as I think that some of you may know it's really close to Dr. Shackley's birthday. I don't know if it's today, but it was right around here. And I think that everything that we do is because of him. And it's pretty exciting that we're to this point where we are excited to share Shackley. And I think, really, a lot of us are on the same page that this is our focus, guys. Dr. Shackley was doing this way back in the early 1900s, and this is where I think healthcare needs to be going today, and that's why this big focus is on sick care to well care, that is our goal, is to build health. So I really love this quote from Dr. Shackley. I never belittle the medical profession, but we are in two separate fields of endeavor. They are trained to treat disease, and I'm interested in building health, and I think that's a great model for all of us. So Dr. Shackley actually has some amazing quotes, and I think that it's pretty cool that Shackley has stuck with the philosophy of where they're at today throughout all the years that they've been in existence. And that is still today that any Shackley product that is made, we can guarantee will never harm any cell and will never harm any person. So that is a great thing to know. And that's what we are all about, is learning natural alternatives. So our topic tonight is kind of combined with several things. We've got seasonal affective disorder, which also ties into depression, which ties into, I believe this is several different areas of anxiety, a lot of connections with this topic. So, and I think that actually everybody on here so far is from somewhere around the vicinity of our area. And we definitely live in an area where we have a lot of dark times here. We were just saying before the Zoom how it feels so late right now. And we have to be our own advocates to learn tips and tricks that we can do to help us beat the blues. That's our topic tonight. And I think that as you guys just read some of these statistics on your screen, I think you'll kind of see why we need to make this of importance, that we educate ourselves more on this. And in doing so, we can share this with others. I think this is very interesting, that when you look at the amount of medications that are prescribed, if you've never heard this before, antidepressants are actually the #2 most prescribed prescriptions, next to cholesterol medications. So, there's a reason for that. And part of it could definitely be related to, there are chemical imbalances and things that, yes, I'm not saying medications are all bad, but there are also situations where medications are overly used. And that's why we just want to kind of know, some of the things that we can maybe help do for ourselves naturally, and know that there are some options that maybe we're trying that will not have side effects. So as you're, again, going through this, women are definitely more affected through seasonal affective disorder than men. And as we get into, our winter is starting to now come into full swing here very soon, I think. We kind of got some bits and pieces of it so far. But what we tend to do is actually go into what they call a hibernation mode. And it's interesting that when we go into this mode, that our bodies actually change. Just think of how bears hibernate. It's kind of funny, but we actually do similar responses oftentimes in how our bodies change. We sleep more, we are more lethargic, we crave different foods. If you look at the amount of sugar consumed from wintertime to summertime, it's actually almost double, which is kind of interesting. And when that happens, other things are also going to be affected with that. So, all of these things are very common. And this is why we want to know, what can we do to prevent this? And, we only have 20 minutes here, so I always talk kind of fast to get through all the information. But, you'll see that there's so many different connections in where these things like depression come from, and seasonal affective disorder. And a lot of that correlation has been found to start in our gut. And we talk about this in a lot of our topics, because our gut health is connected with so many parts of our bodies. And if you're, again, looking at the screen there, that over 95% of serotonin is found in your GI tract, which is part of your gut health. So when you hear as your gut actually being your second brain, that is pretty interesting, that we can note then that if we are getting our gut to be optimally functioning, that it's going to send the right things to our brain. And that affects everything, how we make decisions, how we choose to eat certain foods. So if you can see here some of the things that are linked to serotonin levels being off and not at optimal levels, you can see conditions like depression, anxiety, addictions, like digestive disorders, migraines. And again, it's not very often that you would go to a doctor and you start telling them some of these symptoms, but they're going to mention anything to you about gut health. And this is why it's important that we educate ourselves and that we learn more about options, and knowing that there are so many things that we can learn that can make a tremendous impact on our health. Now, everybody is very familiar with vitamin D and the importance of getting enough sunlight, and even of how our bodies, when we don't get enough sun, that we can notice a lot of those similar symptoms that we talked about a little bit ago here, of feeling like, you're very tired, you're lethargic. But vitamin D deficiencies are actually being linked to so many other things, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit more depth here just for a second, because I think this is very important. Now, when you go to the doctor, I do always recommend that you have your vitamin D levels checked. And there are different types of vitamin D. Now, the vitamin D from the sun is definitely optimal, but then where we're at, they're actually recommending now, I just heard this the other day, that if you live north of Atlanta in the wintertime, you should actually be increasing your vitamin D intake to about 5,000 milligrams. And I know a lot of you guys here are on Shaklee products. So if you're taking just the basic multivitamin or the vitalizer, that's only 1,000 milligrams. And vitamin D is actually extremely inexpensive. So grab an extra bottle of vitamin D. That's one tip I'll give you. It's going to cost you about $8 and it will last you a very long time, but definitely look at increasing your vitamin D for winter time. And as you're reading through some of these things here, of the vitamin D deficiencies are being linked more and more to many common things, even diseases, versus, you're seeing in things on here like if your vitamin D level in the adrenal glands isn't producing the right hormones, we actually can be taxing our adrenal glands. So it's interesting how they have found now that, adrenal fatigue is a definite correlation of our bodies being stressed all the time. And if we can take some of that stress off our bodies, and we're not working in overtime all the time, you're not going to be noticing a lot of those symptoms of the exhaustion. And chronic fatigue would be another common, oftentimes that's something that someone may be diagnosed with. And again, do they ever think to check vitamin D levels? Typically not. So again, a great tip too with your vitamin D, all supplements are not the same, and we're not really getting into a lot of that talk right now, specifically tonight. But note that even with vitamins, like if you're taking synthetic versus natural, there are different types of vitamin D2. There's vitamin D2 and there's vitamin D3. So there's even different options for supplements, which makes it very confusing. And that's why we trust Shaklee with all of the third-party studies they do and the money they put into the research. We know whatever version they're giving us is the right one for our bodies. It's going to be guaranteed to be absorbed and to do what they say it's going to do. So vitamin D2 is actually a lot of times supplemented into foods, and it's not as biologically active as vitamin D3 is, which is sourced from fish oil, actually. So, and vitamin D is one of the nutrients, along with B12, which we're going to get into B vitamins here in a second, are oftentimes very deficient in vegetarians. So if you know any vegetarians, oftentimes they may need to even add more D and B vitamins into their regimen. So I always think it's great to share just different testimonials, because I'm a big believer in people that we know and them sharing what's working, that it can help us all. And this was just a testimony from Valerie, and she had kind of a rough life of anxiety showing up right when she was first born. She said that her mom could tell she was in a state of distress right away. And it actually went through her childhood. She suffered from severe depression and had a hard time leaving her home. In situations she couldn't be around other kids because she was so introverted. She really struggled. And as she got older, they were introduced to supplements, and she had tried a lot of doing natural alternatives. She got into a lot of essential oils. She had tried doing acupuncture. And she said by far one of the best things she ever found was stress relief complex. So, that may not be something you would necessarily think of as we're heading into seasonal affective disorder in wintertime. But if you can look at what happens when your body is stressed and those cortisol levels rise, that can be a huge relief for the body, which oftentimes depression is when your body is always taxed and you always feel sad, right? And there's definitely other symptoms that go along with that. But if you can find the right combination of factors, and she had found stress relief was her number one product that she noticed the biggest results with. And she continued to add a few other things throughout time, but she is now at the point where she is on no medication. She is very healthy. She's thriving. She has children of her own now, and said that, she was able to overcome that. And those are the stories that are powerful. That's our whole Dr. Shackley philosophy. We're building health. We're not masking a symptom. We're not giving you something you got to worry about side effects. There's only side benefits to taking Shackley products. So here's our stress relief complex that we were just mentioning was one of the main products she mentioned. And the ashwagandha is the main herb in here that is what does the effect of blunting that cortisol. And stress relief complex is one of those that's very fast acting. Unlike some other products you have to build up in time, this is almost immediate. Within 10 to 15 minutes, you can notice a difference. So this time of year, if you notice stress is triggering you more into situations where you're quick acting, this is a great thing to try. Holidays coming up. This is also another time to be thinking about how can you reduce stress. Having products available, huge difference. Helping you be able to focus when you're getting more oxygen to your brain. That stress relief can help in so many different ways than just beyond helping with anxiety and depression type symptoms. So now B complex was another one I mentioned a little bit ago. And your B vitamins, we just did actually a whole Zoom on this. I think it was actually last week or 2 weeks ago that we talked about this. And B vitamins are something that are best absorbed in your body when taken together. Instead of extracting one nutrient, that they're going to work so much more in sync if you can get them all together in the right formula. And that's what Shackley has found with taking this and putting into a B complex. And if you look at what B complex does, it helps to convert food to energy, and it also helps to make the body, so when you're stressed or you eat a lot of sugars, that is going to deplete your B vitamins very quickly. Also, you look at alcohol, refined carbs, all of those things. So I always give the tip that if you notice your urine is not yellow, you're not getting enough Bs in your diet. And this is one that when you take this, even, yes, it's in, if you guys take the Vitalizer, there are B vitamins in there, but that stays in your system for somewhere in the range of around 5 hours. So this is one product that a lot of times people find they have to do again throughout the day. And I say that more now again, because coming into the time of year and we're seeing less and less sun, you can notice by midday that you're more and more fatigued, you're more tired, and that just builds throughout the day. So this can be a great pick-me-up to use around lunchtime. So that's been my new tactic actually to help me through the days now, is using this at lunchtime. So just a little tip there, B complex, known as the happy vitamin. So, and that is one thing that your body cannot produce, and that's why you have to supplement with B vitamins. So there are certain nutrients our bodies make, and B vitamins are one of them. It does not. So now mood clip complex would be, just like it's titled, it lifts your mood. It's an easy one to remember. And this is kind of an interesting fact if you've never heard this before, but St. John's wort in Germany is actually what they use instead of Prozac. So the St. John's wort has the same effect as, again, if you look at what it does, that it actually blocks the transmission of nerve signals, which in people that are very low melancholy, that they notice that this helps to boost them. So, and it also helps with, if you've ever taken antidepressant, a lot of times your mind, it becomes very foggy. You can't think as clearly. Where this, you will notice night and day difference. You don't have any zombie-like effects like you would with a lot of medication. So again, no side effects, only side benefits when you look at what this does though, and trying to improve some of those symptoms. This product can take a little bit longer to notice the benefit. So you see here taking 4 to 6 weeks, can take a little bit longer to actually build up in your system compared to some other products. So this is the only Shackley product that we do give the guideline of, if you are taking an antidepressant, that the St. John's wort actually could compete with your antidepressant. So you don't want to take these together. This would be one definitely you could talk to your doctor about, maybe going off from your antidepressants and working to try this instead, but definitely work with your physician if you're trying to get off of an antidepressant and look at using something natural. So, and this stimulates your serotonin production. Remember how we we're talking about how much serotonin comes from your gut? The more serotonin we can get to your brain, the happier you're going to be and the happier you will feel. So again, Mood Lift Complex, great alternative for looking at something to make you feel better. And any of you guys, if you have ever suffered from depression or you know someone that has, it's serious and there can be all different levels of it. So you kind of have to know that if you're starting to notice any symptoms starting, don't wait until it gets so severe you can't get help anymore. So that's why we want to know all of these options that are available to us. So we talked about vitamin D a little bit ago, but I really like this slide because I feel like it gives you just a big picture of so much of what D vitamins do. And they have found now that even vitamin D is almost just as crucial as calcium for building strong bones. It's kind of interesting. So we always talk about calcium for bones, but actually using calcium with vitamin D and magnesium has the best potency for helping building bone strength. So vitamin D, again, very inexpensive supplement, and there is no reason we can't look at adding more of this into our diet. So again, just really making sure that we kind of emphasize the importance of this, because I think that it's not talked about enough. And just, the effects of what it can do to help you in an expensive, natural way, so worth trying. So, and the other thing to talk about here really quickly, also the probiotics. We're talking about gut health and just kind of reviewing there the importance of building that up. But so much of what happens inside affects what happens in our brain. So, we want to realize that if our body is struggling, if you have things like you've ever heard of candida, which is yeast overgrowth, that we need to really be pumping so much good bacteria so that those toxins from your gut are not going up to your brain. And again, amazing how God made us, that our bodies are completely connected. So every system can affect another. And we want to try to really get to working at the stem of a lot of our systems, which is our gut. And that's the importance of looking at probiotics. So we want to make sure we mention also this pearl for looking at mood and trying to enhance the ability for our bodies to reduce some of those symptoms that we oftentimes see heading into, it's not just wintertime for some of these things. I should obviously say that, but I think it's definitely more pronounced coming up into these times of the year where, again, it's dark, it's cold, and we're not outside as much. And everything around us is, again, more processed. We've got more treats. You have the things around that generally your body is in overload from trying to just keep up. So if we can offset some of that by knowing what vitamins and minerals to use, it could be a totally different season for you this year and heading into winter. So looking at Omega Guard, this would be one of the other ones I just want to mention because, again, I've said this maybe 3 times now, but we want products that promote not having side effects, but only side benefits. When you hear of omegas, what do people always think of? Heart health, generally. But this is where you get the side benefit of also brain health. So omegas are key in helping to prevent memory loss and in depression. So up your omegas. If you don't take omegas, definitely look at getting on a clean, pure, full spectrum omega, because it can make a huge difference in getting then, again, circulation going and helping to feed the brain. So love the Omega Guard. And it's also in, if you take the Vitalizer or the Life Strip, you also have that in there too. So, but it doesn't hurt to sometimes look at adding different supplements. So if you're, already kind of noticing here, we're not even at Thanksgiving yet, but I just had somebody tell me today that they're already feeling just so tired and, so run down. And yes, we're all going to go in different phases of that. But again, the key things are we start to notice the symptoms and we make changes before they get worse. And I always say your body has symptoms because it's trying to tell you something. And if you ignore those symptoms, that's when we can lead to disaster, leading to disease and leading to things much worse than where the symptoms started. So, so here's kind of a big picture of everything we talked about. And of course, you guys all hopefully know that we need to tie this in with a regimen also of moving more, connecting to whatever we need to do to help us to be more at peace and having good relationships, looking at also what you eat, sleeping, and how much stress you have in your life, including at your job and in your family. So that all plays a part too, but definitely from a supplement standpoint, hopefully you guys found this helpful. So I know we are at 20 minutes right now. So let me open it up here real fast and see, does anybody have any questions or anything you'd like to comment or add or even something to share? That would be great. Don't forget to unmute yourself. Hopefully you're not all sleeping.
Hey, Amanda, can you show the stress relief slide again?
Sure. There you go.
What was that? Was the one before that just a girl's story?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, can you go to the product one again?
Sure. All right. Anybody else, guys? Anything you want to add? Comments? Was
That
it
was really good. That's
helpful?
super helpful. Yeah.
Good. All right, great. And I said I did record this, so I think that, again, we're only in November, guys, so I think you might have some conversations with people coming up here that this might be a great thing to share with them to give them some education of some alternatives. So, good.
Amanda, are you able to post this? Did you record that part of it?
I did. Yep. I'm actually going to stop the recording right now.